Hello guys, today I'm gonna be making a different video today, and it's mainly gonna be about Gods of Gravity mainly, and because of that I need to explain why I'm not making any GOG videos anymore and why I'm making this video specifically, because this video isn't about Gods of Gravity itself. It's mainly about the devs and the community a bit more. But I genuinely hope you guys understand why I'm making this video today. To kick things started off, for over, I'll say around 2 years, Gods of Gravity has if not been into the slums already. And where it's at currently is probably if not the worst time out of all at this current stage of moments. Where Gods of Gravity is really at is genuinely where it's a mixture of going to die off and barely any players are online anymore. So with that in mind, we're gonna start with the first chapter. As I mentioned before, over the past 2 years, Gods of Gravity hasn't been in the great state, meaning that the devs have already left Gods of Gravity, well most of them, and moved on to Yeeps, which I'll get to the Yeeps part later on. But for now, we're just gonna be talking about the community, the game, and the devs at this time. You see, over the past, I'll say like a year and a half, Nathan has released his Roadhouse, which I'll get to that part later on. But however, the main part I want to talk about is what's the player base at Gods of Gravity right now. I want to say Gods of Gravity is roughly around 30 to 60 players per day at an average, but the number just depends on how much it is, and plus I would need to create some data. But however, the first data I'm going to get is asking people in the Discord server, asking how much do you think Gods of Gravity averages per day. So I asked a question, and someone responded around 60 to 100. One of the great person in the community, ZooKid99. Now, if I think it's an average around 30 to 60 people, and someone says around 60 to 100, we should probably be doing some math right now. I'm not really great with math or anything, but if I were able to estimate around this data, I would have to say around 45 to 80 people per day. Remember, this is an estimate. We don't know the actual number yet, but if I was assuming 45 to around 80. I know this isn't a lot of evidence right here, but Gods of Gravity is also a very small game where it's at right now. But if we're assuming this is probably, if not the most truth out of any, a lot of people have always said in the Gods of Gravity community, it's always been around probably 80 players per day, maybe 40 players per day, but it all depends on the week and on the day as well. Let's move on to chapter 2. This chapter will be a very short chapter because there's not really a lot to explain in this one, but in this chapter, it's almost been a year since the last official Gods of Gravity update, if we don't count the anniversary update. Basically, in the anniversary update, it was just cosmetics and nothing new. No even bug fixes and just nothing, really, except for a video. However, though, there is a new beta made by Cheeselord, but we don't know how long this beta will take for this to be released. You see, Nathan takes a lot of time on updates, and it's because of particular one singular reason. Yeeps, which I'll get to that in a little bit. What also is confusing to me is the Roadhouse made by Nathan, which will be in the next chapter. So let's move on to chapter 3. You see, in the roadmap, Nathan has made a lot of things in the roadmap. But specifically, let's go over some specific things in the roadmap. As you see in this image, Nathan has said alliances. Let's talk about that. You see, alliances have been in the work quote-unquote for so long now. This is what I want the most, is the alliances update. But however, Nathan said he has some progress in it. But however, he doesn't really mention it at all. There's also some ship swarms which also haven't heard of from Nathan in a long time, and same with some new god and abilities and passives. However, the most truth out of any single one of them is new gods and abilities. The Shipstorm is kinda there, except the only thing that kinda relates to it is thieves or production systems. Then we have the major bugs and the other stuff. We'll start with the major bugs first. But with the major bugs, most of these are patched. However, some of these are still happening. Getting kicked out with a big map starts still happens to this day sometimes. But the fail load the galaxy error is still happening, even though Nathan said he's patched it multiple times. The other stuff, Nathan said specifically one thing: schedule grind mode they had before. What does that even mean, you may ask? Well, my theory is they basically decided one person works on Gods of Gravity while the other person works on Yeeps. However, when Yeeps came out, Gods of Gravity, they were like, nah, let's abandon it and think that the community on itself will handle itself fine. However, that is not the case. The case is they thought Gods of Gravity will handle it fine and they don't care about the game, just barely update the game and people will still play on it, and that's what they thought. But little did they know is there are people that still care about the game. And the audacity to think that they think Gods of Gravity is a packed game. No, it isn't. There's two other games, the pink and the purple. Where are the new faction teams, right? Where are new stuff that people want? If people want new stuff and people want developers working on the game again, what's the point of not doing it? Genuinely, that's my question. Make the game have updates again and maybe hire new developers. And my question is, what has Jack been doing? Jack barely works on the game anymore. But that's when we get to Steve, guys. Let's move on to the next chapter. Well, my biggest question is, where is Steve at? Well, you're about to be shocked. He moved to Yeeps. He completely switched up from Gods of Gravity to Yeeps hide and seek, guys. On his YouTube channel, there is nothing but Yeeps content. Zero, and I mean zero Gods of Gravity. Did not even want to mention Gods of Gravity 2. Which is crazy to me because he made so many videos on Gods of Gravity before, and it's genuinely so crazy seeing how he switched up. And honestly, to be fair, he's moved on. But what also is crazy to me, he barely talks in a Discord too. Just look at this screenshot. Last time he talked about was 2 months. And then after that other message was a year ago. And there's so many messages that he talked and then dipped. And then comes back for like 1 or 2 messages. And then dips again. But what's also crazy to me is after the tournament ended, wow, he just left the Gods of Gravity community right after that. He was active when the Gods of Gravity tournaments were actually around and edited all the Gods of Gravity tournament videos too as well. So a question to Steve. You have said you like GOG, but where is GOG videos on your channel? Why won't you show your audience to GOG videos is my question. And I think the reason why is because you think GOG won't get enough attention and views, but it can bring a lot of people over here to Gods of Gravity. People have never heard of the game, people that are interested in finding new games, and people are always interested in finding new games to play on. But why won't you not make a video on Gods of Gravity? Even one single video is mattered a lot too. But that is my question, why won't you make it? You have also made Gods of Gravity in the past while Gods of Gravity was around. Why have you not make one video about Gods of Gravity? You have mentioned Gods of Gravity around Yeeps a few times. But why won't you not let people know about what Gods of Gravity is? Even though there are mentions of Gods of Gravity around in the Yeeps Discord. However, why not make a video on it, nor do anything about Gods of Gravity? How come you haven't done anything for Gods of Gravity in a long time? Everybody in Gods of Gravity misses the GOG stuff. Everybody in Gods of Gravity missed the events. Everybody liked the faction wars when it was around. Everybody liked a lot of things in Gods of Gravity, and then all of a sudden, all of that is gone now. It's like Nathan, Jack, and Steve decided to, you know what? Let's just do other things while the community can have barely of any other things. Faction wars have gotten really stale nowadays. If you really look at the faction war in Gods of Gravity, it has really gotten stale and boring. But don't worry, guys. Let's move on to Yeeps. Chapter 5. The negligence from the developers. As you've seen, Steve barely responds to the Gods of Gravity. Hell, even Jack himself never responds. And Devin, so is he. Last time he talked was probably like 6 months ago, I think. I don't remember when. But they all don't do anything. Steve, Jack, and Devin don't do anything as a developer. We want new cosmetics. We want new stuff in the game. Devin knows how to make cosmetics. Jack is a coder. Steve knows some coding as well. But we just want equal recognition with Yeeps. You see, many Gods of Gravity players want to be equal with Yeeps. Some do hate Yeeps players in the community itself or the game. However, some people do enjoy Yeeps in Gods of Gravity as well. I don't think all Yeeps players is bad, but however, the developers working more on Yeeps and just doing anything they can in Yeeps and keep himself busy in Yeeps affects Gods of Gravity in a bad way because Nathan himself can't really work on Gods of Gravity because he's just so busy with Yeeps. When the developers like Jack or Devin or Steve say something about Gods of Gravity, it's literally like a one chance of rarity at that point as well. That's why people like Nathan still try to talk with the Gods of Gravity community, but however, does it not in a really good way, I'll say. Nathan is still part of the community, trying to help out as much as he can. But however, he's mainly busy with Yeeps a lot of the times. The biggest problem with that is Gods of Gravity's attention gets pulled away so bad where it puts Gods of Gravity into like a deeper hole where a lot of people are just leaving because the developers themselves have just been working on Yeeps hide and seek for so long. And I think this affects the game really badly because a lot of people like GOG and some people left because developers decided to leave it. People like Thundercron, people like Exter, people like ABC left the Gods of Gravity community because the developers have decided to stop playing the game or do tournaments on it or do anything on the game at that point. So many OG players joined the game at the early stage and were there when the game was released after the App Lab days. And it sucks because a lot of people, when OG players come back to the game for a little while, it's just sad to see there's nothing new in the game, and honestly, it affects the game in a really bad way. Because of that, I just want Gods of Gravity to have something new instead of the same thing over and over and over and over again. But when Yeeps came out, this is when controversy starts hitting in. Yeeps is a Gorilla Tag game. Well, similar to Gorilla Tag, but it are the same thing in many single ways. You see, a lot of people from Gods of Gravity moved on to Yeeps because they're like, oh, Trash Games is gonna work on something new. When they moved to Yeeps, they totally forgot Gods of Gravity a lot of the times over there because they found something new and interesting. You see, when a new game is developed and a lot of people find it interesting, a lot of people will move to that game because it's something new. For an example, Yeeps Hide and Seek. A lot of Gods of Gravity players moved from Gods of Gravity to Yeeps Hide and Seek to work or play on Yeeps, basically. And I still wish Gods of Gravity can have updates because the game is not really at its best, and honestly, seeing how it's at is not really in a good state. In this next part, I will be DMing people and asking them questions to see what's their opinions about it. Somebody from GOG has agreed to interview with me, and I asked them serious questions about how do you feel about Gods of Gravity, Trash Games, and Yeeps. I'm not going to speak the entire time, but I will just show you the photos and stuff. But here are they. As you see, he just talks about gods of gravity, moderation, everything else that he thinks is wrong in the community as well. Everyone has their different own opinions, but I do agree with a lot of its opinions as well, like the moderation, Yeeps, gods of gravity, developers, and honestly understand why Nathan, Jack, and Steve move on to another game, but I still feel like abandoning the community like that, it was just horribly poor, I guess, on that part. I don't even blame Jack or Steve or Nathan. This is like, I'm pretty sure one of their first time creating a game that turned out to be big, but also having a game that was semi-big. But honestly, I feel like just how they switched to a game was not really all that great. I'll be honest with that. Thank you to King Noob interviewing with me, and honestly, it was honestly nice. He honestly said all honestly, and honestly, such a nice guy. After looking at everything about Gods of Gravity, I think I should explain why I left the Gods of Gravity. The main reasons why I've left the Gods of Gravity community is because there wasn't a lot of things, there was too many dramas in the community, and overall the moderation team, which is something else. I can go on with the moderation team, but it's another video one day. Well, maybe if I do want to post a video of this. But honestly, overall where Gods of Gravity is at, it's just looking to a deep downhill, and honestly, looking at it, it's honestly kind of depressing and sad of where Gods of Gravity is really headed at. I just really wish that developers can really do something about Gods of Gravity, or maybe have its final update and then just leave the game for all and maybe have a few bugs and fixes and stuff. I just really hope Gods of Gravity can get a change and get a really great update one day, honestly. I really miss this game that much, and honestly, I made multiple videos on it in the past, and honestly. And I want to say thank you guys for on this. This is all my opinion. This wasn't a hate video or anything. This was just my opinions and stuff. And honestly, I'm going to see you guys later.